This entire wall behind me is made out of speakers. Now the first thing I want to do is thank Into the AM for making this video possible. Projects like this are expensive. Into the AM reached out, decided to sponsor the channel and make this video happen. They're having a sale right now, 3 graphic tees for $60 or 3 basic tees for $49.95. Any shirt you see me wearing in this video was made by Into the AM. They're comfortable, they're good quality, I've enjoyed wearing them, and you can get an additional 10% off with the link in the video description or with the code DMS10 at checkout. If you want to see more crazy videos like this and you want Into the AM to continue sponsoring the channel, check them out so we can do more things like this in the future. Thank you again, Into the AM. Let's get into the video. Now, some of you may have seen before a video by Tech Ingredients calling these Exciter speakers one of the best speakers in the world. This is not true. They're generally pretty bad. But you can make them decent with DSP and careful planning. Maybe even just careful planning if you really put a lot of time into it. Things like the placement of the exciter, the distance off the wall, the material used, and things like rounding the edges can make a big difference in its performance. Enough so that I decided let's make a whole wall out of these exciters. The first thing we needed was a wall. Okay, there's a wall. I ordered 12 Dayton DAEX25s. These are 8 ohms a piece and pretty affordable for what they are, even with 12 of them. I mean, you find me 12 speakers where you can spend less than $150 on them for all of them. Then I got a bunch of 20-inch by 30-inch foam board pieces and started planning my design around that. I designed 3D printed brackets, 4 that would go on the wall and 4 that would go on the panel, and then connect them up with rubber bands for each individual panel. Now that means that I had to make 96 of them. That took a while. Specifically doing 10 a day and then counting for failures, well, it took about 11 days to make 96 usable brackets. I then made myself a small measuring block and used that to design a template in which I would then stick on all the brackets evenly on each piece of foam board and then again on the wall. Pointing out Into the AM shirts again. Those shirts look really good. Once all that was done, I could put the speakers up, and it isn't quite that simple. So I did try to manage the cables as well as I could by running them down the side and zip tying them, but, well, there's 12 individual exciters and they're all 8 ohms each. Dividing these up into 4 groups of 3, I'd have to figure out how to load these on an amplifier. What I decided is to run the top 2 in each row in series, so that gives me 4 groups of 16. But then I have the ones on the bottom. Well, I decided to series those individually with 10 ohm resistors. And then when I parallel each row into just one column of speakers, I'd get a roughly 9-ish ohms load. You come up with a more exact number if you do the math, but I then split the wall between left and right. Not only is each column individually amplified, each column is also individually DSP'd with a mini DSP 2x4. I sat on the couch with my measurement mic and measured again and again and again and again and again, and it sounded terrible. And the solution I eventually found was to actually stop doing that and cross them over. I mean, I still use DSP, but the inner speakers did the mids and the outer ones did the treble. This made DSPing each set of panels much easier because instead of having to focus on all the flaws of full range, I could focus on just the individual flaws in the treble or mid range. On top of that, I started noticing that some of these panels would resonate at the same frequencies. So I tightened some of the rubber bands more on other panels than others, and that pretty much eliminated the issue. What I ended up with is a speaker that definitely needed DSP to sound good, but it also had a very unique sound. Something that exciters generally struggle with is extension on the treble and the bass. The bass on these I solved just by crossing them over and using a subwoofer, same as I would do with my triangle speakers that are set up in there normally. And the treble, well, we just had to DSP in a lot of treble over 10 kilohertz. And it worked. It's not as detailed as my Vandersteens or my triangles, but it sounds massive. We end up with this expansive sound. That's a funny word. It sounds like I'm saying expensive in a southern accent. Expansive. That's not what I mean. I'm talking about the sound has expanse to it. It sounds big. Very similar to what you get with open baffle speakers. Now, I tried these farther off the wall. I tried them closer to the wall. And in this room particularly, they settled in pretty happy around 150 millimeters off the wall, which is pretty dang close, and I was surprised. Though I imagine in a differently shaped room, you'd probably want them farther off the wall than that. And you know what? If we ever decide to do a part 2 of this, which I guess is up to you guys, maybe we'll try something like that. The result is something that sounds truly unique. And now I think it's time that you get to hear it. By the way, hello in your right ear here. Thank you, Joe at Abyss, for letting me borrow this Neumann KU100, so you guys can hear this. Obviously that's not life-changing, but it is something that sounds really big and nothing at all like a box speaker normally does. Now we could expand on this project. I could change the spacing for each individual panel. I could individually DSP each panel instead of doing them in groups of 3, but that's all for a future video. If you want to see that video happen, check out the link in the video description, because Into the AM supporting a channel is why I was able to do this video to begin with. So I want to give Into the AM another big thank you for making this all possible. Also, like, look at this. This shirt looks just like my... I saw this and immediately was like, yes, I need that. And yeah, I've kind of been wearing it ever since. So with all that said, I'm curious of your thoughts. What do you think about this project? What would you do differently, and what would you like to see in the future? I'll be reading all of them. That is gonna wrap up today's video, guys. If you liked it, leave a like down below. If you wanna get active in the community, you can at the Patreon, the link in the video description. And as always, don't forget to stick around, subscribe for more videos like this in the future. Till the next one. Peace.